Hey everyone, welcome back to Tailosive Tech and all that. Now, are you on a binge watching right now? You're going from YouTube video to YouTube video of tech YouTubers saying how the MacBook Pro is a disappointment because it doesn't have an SD card slot, doesn't have USB port or an HDMI port or the MagSafe connector. Are you on a binge watch of that? Of how Apple's lost all innovation, they're out of ideas. This video is gonna make you upset. In fact, do yourself a favor, save some time, just hit dislike and leave. Go ahead right now, you're not gonna get anything out of this if you're on that binging. I'm not talking to my subscribers, of course. If you're a subscriber, thank you, I appreciate you. But if you do decide to stick around, keep in mind that the fact that you're watching this video means I'm getting a little bit of money, which is going to be used to buy the new MacBook Pro. So if you hate Apple that much, you should stop watching right now because you're basically feeding them money. Oh joy, it's getting just more and more fun defending these things. You know, I defended the 12-inch MacBook, made that whole video why that was fine. iPhone 7 came out, I defended why that was fine. And you know what's shocking is that nothing changes. Of course, technology is changing, but yet everyone out there seems to be surprised by the fact that Apple products are expensive and they got rid of something. Like, they weren't expecting this. Apple's been doing this for years and everyone still gets just as upset. Are we ever gonna reach the day where everyone's like, yep, that's totally an Apple thing they would do? But no, instead we get all these people saying, I have a MacBook, so it's fair of me to say that I hate this. I'm giving up on them now, I'm switching. Like, because you bought an Apple product, that gives you more credibility to hate it. Anyone can hate it for any reason. You don't have to buy it to say you hate it more. Okay, let me start answering some of the obvious questions. How about one that pertains to me? The removal of the SD card slot. Everyone got really upset over that because that's what photographers and videographers use to import footage into their computer. And to be honest, I'm one of them. I do that a lot. SD cards are often put into my wallet so I can transfer them to place because I don't have a laptop still. Not for long. I'll have one later. But yeah, it's a very thin chip that lots of people use. I basically use them as most people use USB drives now. I transfer files with them because my computer can't do AirDrop. It's too old for that. So I'm ready for the upgrade. But I'd like to remind a lot of people of a couple other points. Not all pro videographers and photographers use SD cards. A lot of professionals who shoot things on like Red Epic cameras, which is a growing number, those are very, very professional videographers. Red cameras don't use SD cards. They use these giant slots that no computer can use. Giant SSDs to put all that data onto, and you hook that up to your computer via an adapter already. They've been doing that for a while. So those types of professionals, they don't care that the SD card slot is gone because they weren't using it. And also, if you're a person who uses GoPros or I think drones, I believe most drones write to micro SD cards. If I'm wrong, which I probably am, I don't care. Just correct me in the bottom and I'll be like, okay, but my opinion still stands. They use micro SD cards, which you don't know if you're gonna get that depending on which device you buy. If you buy a Surface Pro, yeah, you get a micro SD. If you bought a MacBook Pro ever, you're not going to get one. That's why they all come with the SD card adapter. And now everyone's of course upset that you have to buy an adapter or a cable to get your SD card into the computer because using accessories is very complicated, right? Like you gotta plug it in there and then the SD card's gotta plug in. You want more ports. I hear ya. We all want more ports on the new Apple products. I get it. But we're all forgetting something. Our cameras have ports on them. Most people have little ports on the side that are meant for transferring data on the camera itself. And all the cameras come with a data transfer cable that works with your camera. And the reason I think this strategy is better is the fact that SD cards break over time. I've used them for years and they're very, very flimsy. They're very, very plasticky. When you're plugging them in and out of a computer all the time, they wear down. Those little pins on the side, they get uneven and unhooked. They fall apart. And if you have big ones like I do, you know, 64, 128 gigabyte SD cards, that's like $60 to replace. But if you would just leave it inside the camera, you would risk damaging that SD card. Also, I know a lot of you are probably thinking, well, the new MacBook Pro doesn't have USB ports on it. The old kind, that is. Well, you're not gonna want to hear this, but listen, you can get 2 for $8 on Amazon, a USB to USB-C adapter. No, wait.
On me!
Calm down. It's okay. Call. No. It's all right. Hear me out.
I'm about to hit the sacrifice!
Oh, God. Okay. Is that the worst thing in the world? Okay. Well, if 2 for $8 is too much for you, let's say you have 2 cameras and they both needed to be imported simultaneously, something you couldn't do with an SD card because there was only one SD card slot on the last MacBook Pro. Again, 2 for $8 on Amazon. Change this thing into a USB-C cable with one of those adapters, plug it in, and now you don't have to risk losing your SD card or damaging it over time because when it's in your MacBook Pro and you're moving that around, it's damaging to the SD card because because you can bump it and it's sticking way out of the computer. Also, just removing it and plugging it in and taking it out and plugging it in wears it down over time. In this way, your SD card doesn't wear down because it stays inside the camera. And of course, when you do that, you can import 2 cameras simultaneously if you're a multicam editor like I am. So in that case, it's actually faster than using the SD card like before because you can only put in 1 at a time. I've got 4 ports to work with if you're not charging. Technically, we could plug in 4 cameras at the same time and import on all 4. But hey, that's just one solution. Next complaint is MagSafe. Very, very common complaint. Everyone's angry that they can't drag their charging cord across a walkway and plug it into the computer so that when someone trips on it, it doesn't destroy the laptop. Sorry. Yeah, they did get rid of that. When I had my 12-inch MacBook, I didn't find that a common scenario because I don't think you should put a charger cord in a walkway. Maybe this is just my millennial mind, but I never had the laptop with the MagSafe connector, so I never really got used to having people trip on it all the time. And yes, I don't think that's a very common scenario. But hold on, before you comment, I know what you're all thinking. Well, what? It saves me several times. Now it's not there. Okay, listen. They're trying to move to 1 port for everything, right? They want you to be able to charge from each side. They want things to be thinner and they don't want much protruding insides of the computer. If we're gonna switch to USB-C, they had to get rid of it, which if you were used to having someone trip on it and have it fall out all the time, yes, that sucks. Apple's just saying that's not a very common scenario. That's why we don't put a MagSafe on your iPad. No one complains about that, right? Why wouldn't you put a MagSafe on an iPad? You have to charge it just as much. And if you're gonna say because a MacBook is a pro device, it's like, well, if it's a pro device, shouldn't you manage your cables better? I feel like since the iPad is not a pro device, you would not care as much about the cable. You'd be more careless about that because, hey, it's just an iPad, it's not that heavy. Now with the MacBooks, I feel like you would want to manage your cables better, and I don't think the solution to your problem is make a cable that can fall out of the computer anytime you want. I think the solution is to just not have your computer 10 feet away from the outlet all the time. I hate to say it, but if you're clumsy, that's kind of your fault. But hold on, if you absolutely need the MagSafe, keep in mind there is an adapter you can buy on Amazon that turns any USB-C port into a MagSafe. So that opportunity is not completely gone, but oh crap, I said adapter, didn't I? It's just an adapter. It's just an adapter.
Sacrifice!
I'm sorry, I just thought 20 bucks wasn't much to you guys since you're paying, you know, $2 grand for a laptop. And that comes to the next point. Everyone's arguing about how expensive they are. The starting price is significantly higher than it was before. What's with that? Let me try to explain it a little bit so that it makes a tad more sense. Here's what they did. They got rid of the 128 gigabyte option. That's the main reason these things are more money. On the old 13-inch MacBook Pro, if you wanted 256 gigabytes of storage, you had to add $200 to that laptop. Now, since it comes standard with 256, it's $100 more than that last 13-inch. Why is it $100 more? Because Apple wants your money? Yeah, I think that's the point of a business, is to make money, isn't it? I mean, iPhones aren't doing that well, tablets are in decline. What? They gotta make money somehow. I mean, all of us do. I'm making money right now. This is my job. You guys are probably doing something to make money. You're either going to college so you can get money in the future. Maybe you're in elementary, middle, high school so that you can educate yourself so you can have money in the future, or you're just working right now and getting paid. See, we all care about money a little bit, but the reason I think it's $100 more, and stop saying it's $300 more, all they did was eliminate the 128 gigabyte model. And honestly, I don't think they would have gotten rid of it if it was popular. They realized that the majority of their customers are buying the higher end spec ones. So they said, yeah, let's just ditch 128. No one's using it. But there is, yes, a $100 price increase for that 13-inch model. You're paying for that touch bar. That touch bar has its own processor chip inside of it. So yeah, it's gonna cost more money. It's also a secondary display that's multi-touch, an OLED one for that matter. So the fact that it's $100 to add a secondary row of keys that can do anything depending on the app you're in, and they're powered by their own separate chip. Because Apple thought this through. They realized if the computer gets a virus, we don't want the virus to take over the touch bar. Or if a program freezes, you want to be able to force quit out of it, right? That's why they made the touch bar separate from the computer's processor. If something's going wrong with the computer hardware itself, the touch bar won't be affected because that's its own little computer there. That's completely separate from what's going on in the actual mainframe. So if there is a problem like that, the touch bar will be unaffected. And people keep saying they got rid of the escape key. Guys, it's right there. They didn't get rid of it. It's just a touchscreen now. That doesn't mean it's gone. That's like saying the iPhone got rid of the keyboard. It's like, well, they got rid of the physical keyboard, but not the digital one. Like, iPhones have keyboards, so do iPads. Also, a lot of people are forgetting that when you hold the function key, every single key from the last MacBook is back. It's all there when you hold function. They didn't remove anything in terms of the keys on the keyboard. What I want to remind everyone is that while you're buying adapters so that you can move everything to USB-C, this is a transitional stage. The idea of making USB-C was to say what port can do everything as we make our way to complete portless devices, which will be in the future. Without a doubt, in the future, the laptops will be wireless charged, all data will be wirelessly sent, and you'll even output video wirelessly. And this is a transition stage to that. And I understand a lot of you don't like buying the $20 worth of accessories or don't like changing the way you do things. Everyone resists change, right? I get that. And I've seen a lot of the comments saying my MacBook Pro I already have from 2 years ago works just fine and it has more ports than the MacBook Pro, so why would I upgrade? Guess what? You don't have to. And if you're a guy who hates all Apple products for being overpriced and you found some other alternative with way better specs, like all those Razer laptops and all those Dell laptops, because they have touchscreens, right? That makes them good. And you don't think anyone should buy an Apple MacBook? Well, to you guys, I'm gonna say,
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground.
you don't have to. That's the beauty of the free market. No one is making you. And if you want to just make fun of Apple and saying they're failed, they're out of ideas. Yeah, this new MacBook Pro has sold better than every other MacBook Pro in the past. Yeah, I guess no one cared about all those port losses. And since these are the most expensive MacBook Pros we've had in a long time, Apple's getting their money out of us. Whether or not you think that's smart, you cannot deny it's working. The sales tactic was effective. Sorry, that's just the truth. If you want to talk about how expensive computers are, that laptop back there came out in the 90s and it was $4,000. Adjust to inflation. You know, old Macintoshes, these big guys, they used to cost $4,000 or $5,000 per unit, and that was back in the 90s and 80s. So after you adjust for inflation, no, computers have been in a price decrease for the longest time, given you're still paying $2,000 for a laptop, and they used to be $4,000 decades ago. So no, overall computers are still getting cheaper, and if you think they're too much money, just remember, it may not be for you. If you still have your MacBook Pro and it works, great, don't buy a new one. Why would you? Apple makes their machines to last. That's why your MacBook Pros, the older ones, are still doing fine. So there's no need to upgrade, so don't complain about how bad of an upgrade it would be for you. A lot of us just simply don't have MacBooks, and that's why we're interested in buying one. And we like the one we found, so can't you just respect the fact that we like it? What do you personally have to gain from proving to all of us that it's a bad deal when we're all enjoying it so much? Okay, that's the end of the rant. I hope some of that enlightened you on the future, and to all those haters who made it this far in the video, you just got me one step closer to buying a MacBook Pro. So thank you. Even if you disagree, you got me closer. So this is your Apple Sheep here, and you just got me closer to a MacBook. See you in the next one.